but that you had a series of uncles, and some of the things that I've written about regarding Black fatherhood have been about uncles and coaches. But you talk a lot about, like, particularly like your Uncle Tweety and how your uncles had an impact on you, whether bad or good. You know, you said some of them was carpenters, electricians, plumbers. They never really sat you down and teach you how to do it, but yet and still they still had an impact on you nevertheless.
Right, right. I think one of the things I learned too with that is that being as though they didn't take the time to teach me the trade that they were doing naturally. When I finished the book, it made me look at things from a different perspective. And what that perspective was is I don't know their story. I don't know what happened to them to make them not see the need to pass the trade.
Right.
To show your nephews and your sons something that's going to be intangible, that can be entrepreneurial, or just that being able to fix some stuff around the house. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just to be able to, oh, babe, the secret, oh, don't worry about it. My uncle showed me how to, let me get that. I got it. Mm-hmm. That made me think about that. Like, why didn't they have the wherewithal to want to pass down the trade? And then so what I said was, I don't really know what their story was. What happened to them? Why did they not see the need? Because I feel like we repeat, as when we're growing up, we do things that was done to us. So I felt like if that was embodied, if that was embodied in them growing up, then they would have traded it off to us, but they didn't.
Right, right. And then your relationship with your aunts and your grandma, and the relationship that you had with your, I think it was the first aunt you went to her crib,
right? Kind
of didn't work out,
right?
And your grandma peaked it,
right, right. My grandma, man, may she rest in peace. My grandma was, I don't know, man. My grandma was like my heartbeat, man. My grandma, she had a way of just doing and knowing things without saying it, and she was really in tune with me. She could tell when something wasn't right with me without me saying to her something not right. Mm-hmm. And I could try to fake like it wasn't, but she would know. As a kid, I was with my Uncle Tweety, and I bust my knee up. And he tried to bring me home. He was bringing me home, picking stuff up off the ground from off of Stafford Street. We was going from Stafford Street to Germantown Avenue, coming down Shelton Avenue. And he trying to wipe the blood and keep me from leaking. And we got in the house, and he tried to play it off. But my grandma was side-eyeing him hard, like, what's wrong with my grandson? and it's my favorite uncle. So he like, be easy. So I'm like, I'm trying to be easy. But she was, I don't know, she just had a way of picking up on things.
What you think it is about the relationship between young black men and their uncles? Because a lot of times we don't have our fathers around, but I always try to tell brothers, like, you really do have a father around. It might not be your biological father, right? And so I was talking to my god brother the other day, and we were talking about like his uncle, who was a bouncer, who used to let us up in all the clubs. Rest in peace to Uncle Big Rich, used to let us in all the clubs in Philly for free. But anyway, we were talking about how, even though his father wasn't around, like his uncle was his father. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And like when I started writing about uncles, and as on a scholarly level, and I started looking in the literature about what were the relationships with black men, young black men or boys and their uncles, I couldn't find nothing that anybody had written about. So the only thing I could go to was like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the Bernie Mac show, right? Those were shows that showed us, all right, this is the black uncle. But we really never give our uncles credit.
Nope.
For being those type of fathers. And that's not to say, people don't got foul-ass uncles too, because some people got foul uncles that'll molest them and whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's unfortunate. But we don't give our uncles enough credit that have stepped in to a certain extent as fathers.
Right. I think because it's downplayed in a sense, right? I think it's more of like, oh, that's just my uncle. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's like you having a nephew now. He's like, yo, my uncle a doctor. He's an educated doctor, right? But it's my uncle, and I think you look at it as like it's kind of taken for granted, versus no, my uncle really showed me how to be a man. Like that was my father, right? He was my uncle. He saw the void. He stepped in and he showed me things that my father should have been showing me. So I'm appreciative to him in the same way that was like my father. So I call him my uncle / father. But I think it's that situation of overlooking it, underplaying it, and underappreciate it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, in the sense that you take it for granted because you don't look at it. It's kind of like expected. My uncle, it's my uncle. He gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only conclusion I could come to, in response to your question.
Shit, that might be black men in general. You know what I mean? Uncle, father, brother, you know, son. I think that when it comes down to a certain point is that we gotta appreciate us. You understand what I'm saying? And I feel like Father's Day, Mother's Day, Mother's Day is a little bit more appreciative than Father's Day, as we know. You know what I mean? Right. But why is that?
More commercialized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just as us being men in general, the world need to show us more love.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
right.
We definitely need to salute all the black men that have been mentors to us. And I think you kind of mentioned that, like, we don't salute enough of the black men, regardless of what form they come in. Uncle, brother, older brother, you know what I'm saying, your godfather, the old head on your block. Like, you got to salute everybody that played you could take a piece of everybody that was somewhat of a father, right? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And we don't acknowledge that enough in the role of becoming a man.
Right.
Like, these are, and we take the good and the bad from it because everybody is flawed, right? So we can't just say, yo, my uncle had his issues too, as much as anyone else does, as much as I do. Yep. But also the thing that I was impressed with too is that you talked a lot about how you attract in the learning disabled classes up until you got to high school.
Mm-hmm. And I take it real personal when I talk to young people, because I think that when you're labeled, you're forgotten. Mm. And in that forgotten stage, you feel useless. You feel as if, well, if you already counting me out, you said I can't learn. Mm. Why should I learn? Mm-hmm. Why should I go and try to be anything more than what you said on me, because you already labeled me? You know what I'm saying? Mm. You remember back in the day they used to have a commercial thing when they used to say it was like and they used to put words hurt. It was right. Remember that commercial, like words hurt. Mm-hmm. Words and labels hurt. Mm-hmm. And when you tell a kid that he ain't smart, and I think for me, I think what saved my life was I remember coming home and my uncle was had me. I was around my father's house on Haines Street, and I was sitting there I was struggling with some math. Mm-hmm. And I had said something out of pocket about myself to my uncle. My uncle said something to my father. My father came in. And my father came in and literally woke me up. And he was like, what's your problem? We talking. And I said to him, I think I'm stupid. I'm stupid. Why should I do it? My father never put his hands on me. My father never raised his voice at me. My father never threatened me. None of that. But that night, I think saved my life. I think the way his demeanor changed, the way he grabbed me and he looked at me like, how dare you call yourself stupid? If you ever call yourself stupid again, I'm going to bust your ass. Mm-hmm. Now, when you know your father never put his hands on, he's threatening to put his hands on you, like something must not.
Yeah, this shit real.
This is real. Yeah. It just got real in here. And it took me to get all the way to high school for a science teacher, Mr. Klein. I remember walking out of his class. I remember it vividly. And he stopped me. He was like, Rich, why are you in my class? And I was like, what you mean why I'm in your class? He's like, why are you in my class? I said, I don't know. He said, do you find the word easy? I'm like, I don't know, I just do it. He's like, you're not supposed to be in my class. He said, give me 2 weeks. And 2 weeks, he got me out of the class. So, and what it said to me was, so in middle school, elementary school, those teachers also recognized that it really wasn't a fit for me, but didn't care. So it took me to get a teacher that cared to say, hey, it's a difference maker. And that's why, for me, I have the utmost respect and praise for teachers, because teachers shape the world. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they should be signing multi-million-dollar contracts. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because they shape the world. They're the ones who save lives. Mr. Klein, I don't even know if Mr. Klein's still alive or not, but my sister is now an educator. My sister's a teacher too. My sister said something to me one day. She said, listen, I see what you're doing. I see the track you're taking. She said, but I need you to understand something. She said, you may not ever see the results of what you've been doing from any of these kids. And I had to think about that. And I said, damn, that's Mr. Klein.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true.
Right? And so how do I know 30 years from now some little boy won't be sitting or some little girl sitting at a mic saying, this guy Richard Sutton came to speak at my school and he said da 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 da.
Yeah.
I never heard that before.
See, and I think that's one of the issues. And me and Doc, I mean, I say this so much, you know, on the podcast, but that comes from, once again, human capital, social capital. You know what I mean? Human capital, never develop in your mind.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? We're so boxed in as people about financial capital that nothing else never increases. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when these children are in these classrooms, education is very important, yes. You know what I mean? But we have to start teaching some life skills.
I agree.
You know what I mean? We have to be more receptive. You know what I mean? Because everyone is not going to go to college. You know what I mean? Everyone is not going to go get a 9 to 5. Everyone is not going to go into the military. You know what I mean? But once we learn how to use this tool that God gave us, our mind, then we can't be touched. You understand what I'm saying? And I think that once we are receptive of that motto, then we'll be better off.
I agree. I think for me, and Doc, you can correct me because you probably know better than I do, but